Hey man, what up man? Monday, February 10th in the NBA. We've got a 10-game NBA slate. I'm going to give you two of my best bets in today's video. Sorry for not being here yesterday. Yesterday had some technical difficulties, and the games were so early in the NBA yesterday that by the time I would have gotten the video posted, it would have been, the games would have already started. But we're going to jump into the recap. We'll get into the slate. I'm going to go game by game, give you my favorite picks or leans, and then I will give you my two best bets where we're on a 7-1 run right now. Let's keep it going. Hopping into the recap, a little losing day. Now for the Super Bowl, you're going to see a lot of Super Bowl bets here, and a lot of them were just for fun. A lot of them were not supposed to be. We kind of knew going into yesterday, some of these long shots were probably, it's a long shot, man. We were having a little bit of fun, but yesterday down 1.6 units, still up for the week, still ended the week up 2.6 units. For VIP for 2025, up 6.6 units, still rolling, but nothing crazy. If you're looking over for yesterday, man, NBA, the one play here, LaMelo does get ruled out, so we just had the Rockets -1.5. That was like -110, but once LaMelo got ruled out, it ended up moving that line to about -375. So we risked about 1.3 units, only won about zero point 0.3 units back on it. But you see all the red, a lot of red, but as you can tell, a lot of very small plays, man. I didn't play anything real huge. In the Super Bowl, obviously, as you can tell, a lot more Chiefs props to where I kind of was on the side thinking the Chiefs were going to win that game. But hey, man, one of my favorite plays was the Chiefs. I thought the game was going to be close, but it just wasn't. So looking at the Super Bowl wasn't great, but obviously it was a little bit of fun. Still enjoyed watching the game, hanging out, but not the greatest day. But hey, we're back with NBA. No more fun plays here. We're back to dialing it up and stacking on to 2025. Let's get into the slate. Let's jump right into the slate. We got a 10-game NBA slate. I'm not huge on some of these games because just with some of the trades and stuff, kind of waiting on seeing if guys are going to play or not. Kind of catching a vibe with some of these teams after they just made these trades. I'm not jumping up and down wanting to play them. But let's go through this slate today. We're going to go pretty quickly. Atlanta Hawks versus the Orlando Magic. In this game, Orlando, I always like them at home. It seems like now Hawks did make those trades for Karis LeVert and those guys. They did play last game, and the Hawks end up going out there and beating the Wizards. Pretty easy win there against the Wizards. Magic do beat the Spurs at home. They do beat the Spurs at home. Spurs defense isn't very great. Hawks defense isn't very great. But if you are looking, the main reason, if you were in the last video that we had with some plays, I took the over in that Spurs Magic game. The total was about 217, 218. We took the over. It goes about 223. I took that over mainly because the Spurs defense is really poor at guarding the three-point line. Same thing with the Magic. They aren't the greatest at guarding the three-point line. Well, the Hawks, they're like top 10. They don't allow a lot of threes. They defend the three a lot better than the Spurs. I'm not jumping up and down wanting to play the over today. Now, if the Hawks would have been just as bad at defending the three as the Spurs, I would love the over here. Now, we all know this Hawks defense, they're not the greatest, but they like to play quick. In this spot, I still think I want to say I lean the Magic, but also, man, it would not surprise me if the Hawks go out here and win straight up. It just wouldn't because this Magic offense is so unpredictable game over game. So I'm not taking anything in this game. I think it's more of a player prop game, and I did look at some player props in this game that I don't mind because I think Paolo Banchero could finally have a game. If you look at Paolo Banchero's lines, man, and he's just been going under, it's because he's shooting so poorly. He's been having a lot of poor shooting games. Sometimes has games where he just misses a lot of free throws. And a spot here against the Hawks, I like his points. I like his assists. I don't mind his rebounds. But points, assists, kind of where I'm at with it. That would probably be one of my favorite plays in that game. But I'm not messing with any Hawks players. I can't trust Trae Young game over game. So even if the spot is ever great for him, I don't love it just because he's so unpredictable. And with all those role players coming from Cleveland over to Atlanta now, I'm just going to kind of hold off with that game. So nothing in that first game. I'm going to let you know right now, if you're still right here and you haven't already scrolled to try to find the best bets, the two best bets are in the very last couple games. The two best bets are in two of the last three games. So if you want to scroll to the end of this video to get the bets today, they are towards the end of this video, but we're going to still go game over game. So let's move on to the next one. Minnesota Timberwolves versus the Cleveland Cavs. Cavs 9.5-point favorites here. Now, I do see Anthony Edwards questionable, Mike Conley questionable. We all still know Julius Randle is out in this game. With no Julius Randle, you already know I still love Rudy Gobert today. So if you're liking Rudy Gobert, you can run it back on him. He's still, last couple games, hasn't been hitting his rebounds, but getting over 20 rebound chances. So the stats are still there backing up to want to take us over, but we all know Rudy Gobert can sell you at sometimes, so be careful with Rudy today, but he should have a decent game versus the Twin Towers there in Cleveland. I didn't look at many Cleveland players just because I feel like I think the spread's a little big, but also I understand Cavs with their offense and how many points they're putting up. I could see a game here 124 to 110 where it's still kind of competitive, but Cavs cover the spread here. Not big on this game, but my favorite play would probably be Rudy Gobert. Anthony Edwards' point line's just very high, especially kind of coming off an injury. And for the Cavs, like I said, I didn't look at many Cavs players today. I kind of was just more keen in on Rudy Gobert. I kind of like Rudy Gobert today. But third game on the board, San Antonio Spurs versus the Washington Wizards. San Antonio over 10-point favorites, and I said it against the Hornets when they just faced the Hornets. They should not be 10-point favorites against anybody. Today, 11-point favorites, 11 and a half. I think I understand it. I mean, it's against the Wizards, probably the worst team in the NBA. I mean, they are probably the worst team, like offensive rating, defensive rating. So I get it, but the Spurs defense is not good, man. It's not good. To where it kind of almost was like when I was looking at this game, I'm like, I don't think the Spurs should be favored by more than 10, more than 11. But it is against the Wizards, so I kind of get it. But also, the total at 236, I'm like, I kind of lean the over. But also, when you're looking when the Spurs face bottom 5 defenses, bottom 10 defenses, they have a lot of games like in that 120 to 114 to where it's like a 233 type final, 234 type final. They have a lot of games like that where they barely go under this total. We all know the Wizards can have games where they barely score 110 points, 105 points. And for this total to hit the over, they definitely need the Wizards to score a little bit here. Now, Spurs on the road here over the last 10, 15 road games in the month of January, beginning of February, they're allowing opponents to shoot over 40% from three. Magic last game only shot 33% for three and still scored about 112 points there. So if the Wizards they play a little bit quicker than the Magic, if they can run up and down with the Spurs here, I kind of lean the over still. But it did have me kind of staying away once I was looking when the Spurs play a lot of bottom 5, bottom 10 defenses. A lot of their totals land in that 230 to 235 range. But adding De'Aaron Fox to that lineup should help, so I lean the over in that game. Fourth game on the board, Boston Celtics versus the Miami Heat. I don't like this game at all. As a Celtics fan, we own the Heat, man. We absolutely own the Heat. I kind of know who plays well against the Heat and who doesn't, but in this game, we're kind of waiting on some injuries, man. I see Jason Tatum, questionable. I see Jaylen Brown, questionable. Drew Holiday is still out. Well, without knowing who if Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum is playing, I don't know what to expect with this game. Now, I do know some Heat players crush versus the Celtics, man. Bam Adebayo's point line seems very low today at 16.5. Very low. Bam Adebayo last 5 or 6 games, 26 points, 21 points, 30 points, 23 points, 18 and 18. Last couple games, point line, 19.5 against the Bulls. If you could have bet Bam Adebayo, it would have been a 19.5 against the Bulls, 17.5 against Philly, 17.5 against Brooklyn. Today it's at 15.5, 16.5. And I'm telling you, Bam Adebayo goes over this line versus Celtics all the time. This line seems too good to be true for me. Just too good to be true. We all know Bam Adebayo can go out there, and you know what Bam can do, man. You know he can sell you at times, sometimes having games where does his thing on assists and rebounds, but barely scores 10 points. That is a thing. We have seen Kyle Ware sometimes step up and go crazy, and then Bam Adebayo kind of take a back seat, still score about 15 points, but then get his rebounds and assists. In this game, I think that line's just too good to be true for Bam. I mean, it's screaming over. Screaming over. He crushes that versus Kristaps. Like, everything is telling you to take his over. Remember Joel Embiid against the Pistons when he just played the Pistons a couple games ago? I told you guys Joel Embiid, everything screaming over. And I was like, I kind of lean the under because everything is screaming over. That's kind of how Bam is today. I almost lean his under because everything's screaming is over. Now, for some Celtics props here, the one guy I'm looking at right this second that I don't mind is Derek White. Derek White usually has some good games versus the Heat. He aren't the greatest at defending the three-point ball and aren't the greatest versus spot-up shooters. Like Derek White, not a bad spot there. But once again, you got to wait on some injury news there. Tyler Hero, same thing. His point line seems very low. 21.5. This year seems to be flying over that a lot. I would be leaning that over more than Bam, but even then, another just seems low. Now, the total in this game is only 218. I could see a very low-scoring game in this game. I really could. I could see a game, one team scoring 90, the other team barely scoring 100. I could see that type final, but an easy stay away for me today. Easy stay away. As a Celtics fan, I do not love that game. Next game, Charlotte Hornets versus the Brooklyn Nets. Charlotte about 4-point underdogs here. Now, I do have a couple of strong leans in this game. Some of them very, very sloppy, so take it however you will, but it does look like everything I'm seeing is LaMelo Ball is going to play today. Yesterday sat, today seems like he's going to play. I do see Nick Smith questionable. I do see Josh Green questionable, and I see their center, Diabate. He didn't return last game. I don't really see anything with him, but it looks like he's probably questionable or not going to go. They're also kind of waiting on some injury news or the trade news with Yusuf Nurkic. If Yusuf Nurkic goes, and say his PRA line is in that 23.5 to 27, 28.5 range for his PRA, and he's not on some kind of minutes restriction, like they might put him on some kind of minutes restriction. If he's playing around 25 minutes and his PRA line's in that 23 to 28, I'm taking his over. I love the spot versus the Nets for him in this game. I think he would smack that. When you look at Yusuf Nurkic versus Nick Claxton and the Nets, when Yusuf Nurkic used to play for the Suns and stuff, that man was scoring 20 points, 15 plus points, double machine, 3+ assists in every game. Like, I love Yusuf Nurkic today if he plays with the Hornets, because with those other injuries, he's going to probably get some volume. He's probably going to get some volume. So I don't mind Yusuf Nurkic there if that PRA line is in that 23 to 28.5 point range. It's a wide range kind of, but that's what I'm hoping for. If it's above that, say his point line's at 17, and say they try to treat him like Mark Williams and his PRA is over 30 or 30 PRA today, it's a stay away. But in this game, kind of need to wait on some injury news with the Hornets. Need to find out if Yusuf Nurkic is playing, obviously, with some of those other injuries that are questionable. Now, the Nets, D'Angelo Russell is questionable. I have been telling you guys, if they are missing 1, 2, 3 of their guys for the Nets, I usually lean that other side. Now, both these teams are horrible. But if the Hornets are going to be safe, everybody that's questionable, or 90% of the guys that are questionable today, they actually end up playing, I lean the Hornets here. I lean the Hornets if D'Lo sits and all those Hornets guys get ruled in. But I need D'Lo to sit for me to lean the Hornets there. And that point line would have to stay at +4. Like, it can't go down to almost a pick 'em for me to want to pick the Hornets. You feel me? But my favorite lean in that game would be Yusuf Nurkic by a wide margin. I need to find out if he's playing there. That's where I'm at with that game. Next game on the board, New Orleans Pelicans versus the OKC Thunder. OKC big favorites here, an easy stay away from me. I usually don't like these big point spread games. I did look at some player props in this game, and the only guy I was really, kind of halfway vibing with was Chet Holmgren today. I don't mind his rebounds, and I only say that because against the Pelicans in the past, he's been crushing this rebound line. It's like at 6.5 today at plus odds. Chet's probably not going to play more than 20, 25 minutes tops. And this game has blowout potential to where if it's a blowout, he's definitely not playing that fourth quarter. So he might still play 20 minutes in 3 quarters, but I just don't see him playing a lot of minutes if it's a blowout. So I lean his over rebounds, but that's about my strongest lean would be for him. I know Hartenstein's still there, but that's kind of where I'm at with that. Get it at plus odds for over 6.5. If you like the spot, if you think this game's going to be halfway competitive to where he still gets 20 to 25 minutes. If you think he plays less than that, just an easy stay away. I'm staying away from that game. If I had to give you a lean in that game, it would have to be the over. I think the Pelicans defense is one of the worst. I think they still have enough shooting to where if they're shooting halfway well, say shooting 38% from 3 in that 30 to 38% range, they'll put up some points as well to where I think this game could be a 128 to 115 type final to where maybe Pelicans still cover, but the total goes over. That's kind of where I'm at with that. I just more lean the over. 4 more games to get to, though. Next one being the Golden State Warriors at the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, couple best bets coming in these next couple games, so stick with me. But this next game here, Golden State Warriors at the Milwaukee Bucks. No Giannis in this game. I really still don't want to say I lean the Bucks now. I don't want to say I lean the Warriors just because Giannis is out. Because yesterday I said I liked the Bucks if Giannis was going to play, and then Giannis got ruled out, and I said with Giannis out, I would probably lean the 76ers. Well, Bucks still went out there and won. But Bucks on back-to-backs just aren't my favorite team on back-to-backs. This year on back-to-backs, they are 2-6-1 against the spread. Not great on back-to-backs. That's the biggest thing steering me away from this game. Now, I'm still not a believer in this Warriors team to the fullest extent. Like, with their roster now with Jimmy Butler, that should add some consistency in that lineup throughout the game to where I got to lean the Warriors. I got to lean the Warriors with the Bucks off of back-to-back. But if you would have told me this spread was this and without Giannis a week or two ago and they still had Jimmy, I would have probably said no. But I lean the Warriors. There's no heavy leans in this game. Like Jimmy, could he go out there and have another good game? Possibly. Could it be a game where Steph has a good game? I mean, I just don't know. I'm kind of like all the new trades, man. Unless if it's like a role player or a guy that I fully expect to come in, like Yusuf Nurkic for the Hornets. Like I expect him to come in and get some and get some work. Jimmy's point line today 21.5. I mean, he did score 25, but I just think that's high. Like I would rather have Kyle Kuzma I'd rather have Kyle Kuzma today than Jimmy Butler over. I'd rather have Kyle Kuzma PRA over rather than Jimmy. Now, Jimmy did have 14 assist chances in his first game. That was against the Bulls. Bulls allow a lot of assists. Bucks don't allow as many assists. But Jimmy, maybe he'll kind of be that guy who gets around 10 plus assist chances every game to where he's averaging around 4, 5, 6 assists. He could be that type of guy for them. We all know Draymond's gonna have the ball in his lineup or in his hands too. So I'm kind of waiting for that Warriors team. I still feel like some point lines very high, like Steph at 28.5 today. Yeah, he's been dropping 30, but we've watched him this year. He's had some very bad games where he hasn't scored over 20 in like 8 straight games. But it's also Steph. Steph right now, very hot. I don't want to go against a hot Steph, so staying away from him there. But man, really my favorite player prop lane would probably be Kuzma over. But like, man, I really don't love it. I really don't love it. It's a game with those Warriors making the trades. Still leading the Warriors there with no Giannis for the Bucks still, but not a game I am loving at all, man. So let's move on to the games that have some of the best bets in them. This next game does have a best bet in it. The Sacramento Kings versus the Dallas Mavs, man. Sacramento +1. I still want to say I lean the Mavericks. I still want to say I lean the Mavericks here because I just don't like this Kings team. I don't like the Kings. But Mavs got some big injuries here. PJ Washington questionable, Max Christie questionable, AD is out, Derek Lively's out, Dwight Powell's out, so they have no big men right now. This could be another game Sabonis eats, man. This could be a game where Sabonis eats. Mavs, I still want to lean the Mavs. Now, the total at 237.5 seems very high. Seems very high. Both these teams don't play at real quick paces, especially over the last couple games. Like I've been telling you guys every video if you've been watching, Kings with DeMar, just DeMar, no De'Aaron Fox, like they kind of play at a slow pace unless if they're facing a team that likes to play fast. Last game they played against the Pelicans. Pelicans play very quick. So Kings kept up with them. They played quick with them. But Mavs, they don't play at a super fast pace. I don't think the Kings are going to play at a super fast pace tonight. Now, both these teams shoot great. I could see an over. Neither one of these defenses are that great at this time. Like, with no AD, I thought their defense was going to get better for the Mavs. Now, with no AD, Daniel Gafford is not a good defensive center, man. He kind of gets bullied. He kind of gets taken advantage of in there. I think Sabonis could have a big game, but I'm not going to sit here and blabber on anymore. I lean the under. I lean the Mavs. But my favorite play in this game is actually an over, and it's a player prop. But it is DeMar DeRozan over 19.5 points, and I would play it up to 20.5, but really try to get it at 19.5. I don't know if it would get bumped by the time this video is posted, but 19.5 is where I'm liking it, man. It is a little bit of a risky play, but look at the stats on the screen, man. Mavs, not the greatest at defending the mid-range recently. DeRozan's been eating. He eats from the mid-range. Mavs, one of the worst teams against the mid-range right now. Also, Mavs foul the 4th most isolation players. We all know DeRozan loves to ISO and get to that mid-range and sometimes get to the rim. Daniel Gafford, not a great rim defender. Daniel Gafford sometimes does play that more drop coverage. That's why the Mavs are kind of poor guarding the mid-range over the last 10, 15 games and in the month of January. But I also like him to get to the foul line. If you don't think DeRozan gets to the foul line and attempts 4 to 8 free throws today, then don't take it. If you think he's just going to shoot, you're kind of banking on him to shoot pretty well. But I think here, great spot. Mavs aren't the greatest versus ISO players. They're fouling ISO players a lot. DeRozan, as long as he goes out there and gets 14, 15 plus shots or gets to the foul line 4 to 8 times, I love his over here. Over at 19.5. I think he has a great spot versus the Mavs, who are just really bad versus the mid-range right now. And as long as DeRozan takes advantage of that and is hitting his shots, I like him a lot. I like Sabonis a little bit too. So Sabonis is a lean. DeRozan over points is a lock. I'm locking it in. That is the first best bet on the board, man. Drop a like if you're tailing that. 2 more games, and this next one I have a couple leans in. It's in the Portland Trailblazers versus the Denver Nuggets, and I'm kind of liking the big boys. There, if you want to be honest. DeAndre Ayton, he's had some very good scoring games versus Nikola Jokic. So I'm going to talk about him first. DeAndre Ayton point line today at about 15.5. If you are looking at DeAndre Ayton versus Nikola Jokic, 15 points, 22 points, 27 points. 2 or 3 of those going over this total. 1 of those landed on the hook. Another game, 8 points, only shot 6 times. 22 points. Now we're getting into games with the Suns. 22 points, 16 points, 15 points, 17 points, 27 points. Like, he's faced Nikola Jokic a lot, man. Now, I lean both these guys over points. I lean DeAndre Ayton over points, Nikola Jokic over points. But I think I like Jokic more. The reason I say that, DeAndre Ayton on the road. Yes, he's had good games versus Jokic. But on the road, 6 points. 22, 6, 11, 18, 10, 6. I mean, if you're just looking at his last 7 road games, he's only went over that like 2 of the last 7 on the road. So on the road hasn't been hitting it, but if you've been looking at DeAndre Ayton's game logs, man, this man is unpredictable, but also he's getting some work in some of these games. If you're looking, 13 shots, 15, 14, 19, 12, 12, 22, and then has a game with 8, has a game 14, and has a game with 6. You all know DeAndre Ayton does not go to the foul line hardly at all. If he does, you're lucky to get him up to the foul line maybe 2 to 4 times. Like you're lucky to get him to attempt 2 or 4 free throws. He's a mid-range merchant. He's a post player merchant. He does not draw a lot of fouls. I like the spot for Ayton, but don't love the spot on the road. Nikola Jokic, I do like him at home. It has me just leaning the Nuggets here. Trailblazers been playing really competitive in a lot of these games, man. They have. Nuggets defense, not very good. Not very good. I don't like their defense. But the Nuggets do seem to pull. If this was on the road and the Nuggets were -8.5, -9.5, I would say Trailblazers. At home, I kind of lean the Nuggets because they will pull away from these big spreads like this. At home, on the road, it doesn't seem like they can pull away from these big spreads. But a 10-point favorite here at home, I do lean them just because I think they can kind of pull away a little bit better at home. Doesn't look like there's any huge injuries in that game besides for really Michael Porter Jr. is questionable. It does look like Jeremy Grant is also questionable. So maybe hold off on some injury news there if you're liking some of those guys. But that's kind of where my head's at with it. I lean DeAndre Ayton over, lean Nikola Jokic over, and kind of lean the Nuggets on the spread there. Total at 230. You got to bank on the Trailblazers shooting good from 3, man. You have to. If you don't think that the Trailblazers shoot great from 3, because that's really, if you're looking at a lot of Trailblazers games that go over, it's because they're shooting 40% from 3, 35% from 3. If they don't, they're scoring 100 points. They're like the Magic. They're legit like the Magic if they're not shooting great from 3. But if you're looking just over the last 10 games here, let's look at the 3-point percentage for the defensive, the opponents. My bad. Last 10 games, Nuggets allowing the opponents to shoot 39.5% from 3. That is third worst. Third worst and over the last 10 games. They're allowing opponents to shoot a really great percentage from 3. Trailblazers, number 1. They only allow opponents to shoot 29.9% from 3. Their defense is what's been carrying the Trailblazers, man. So in this game, I'm kind of going back and forth on myself here. I feel like I didn't realize the Nuggets were that bad against the 3. I really didn't. I thought they were like more middle to NBA, but last 10 games been really bad. Next game, last game on the board. I do have a best bet in this game, and I absolutely love this play. The Utah Jazz versus the LA Lakers. Utah, huge underdogs. We all expected this. Lakers, LeBron, Luka, Dalton Connect, he's back. Austin Reeves, we all know what to expect here, man. Now, 12.5-point favorites, it wouldn't surprise me if the Lakers smoke them. It would not surprise me. Total at 235. Second best bet, under 235.5. I love the under in this game. I'm not going to waste any time on player props. I don't like any player props. I want to wait to see what that Lakers team does for like specific players, you know what I'm saying? But I love the under in this game. I just love it. If you're looking even when Luka, you'll see, read the description on the screen. When you're looking this year, when Luka has even faced up versus the Jazz and scoring 30-plus points, he always has good games versus the Jazz. When he did play with the Mavs now, which scored 30 points, total still 118 to 110. 114 to 98. Like a lot of low scoring games. We all know Luka's he does not play fast. Now Luka will play quick, but we all know Luka kind of does play slow. Lakers, a lot of this season have been playing at a bottom 10 place, at a bottom 10 pace. Just in January, they played at the 3rd slowest pace. In February, they're playing about middle of the league. So without AD there, when LeBron's been going crazy over the last couple games, they are playing at the 15th fastest pace. I think adding Luka in there, bro, they're just going to be playing. I think they're going to play slow. I don't think they're going to be like the Spurs with De'Aaron Fox. If you heard me talk about the Spurs and De'Aaron Fox, I think when the Kings offense starts to struggle, you got De'Aaron Fox. You got a lot of guys that can just, you run. But Jazz here with the Lakers, Jazz defense is horrible. Lakers could score 130 points. Make this game very hard to go under. But I think that if they have any growing pains and they're playing at a slow pace, I think this game goes way under, man. So I like the under here a decent amount. It's a 1.5 unit play. I love the spot here for the under. That's all I can really say, man. I don't have a lot of stats to back it up. Besides that, I think they're going to play at a slow pace. And I don't think the Jazz defense is very good. I know some people may be scared to want to take an under with Luka and with LeBron thinking, hey, they don't play any defense. I still think they got it here. So I like the under in this game the most. Lock it in. That is the second best bet. 10-game NBA slate. 2 best bets. Drop a like, drop a comment on this video, guys. It helps me out a lot. Push it out in the algorithm, and it lets me know if you guys are rocking with any of these plays. If you've been tailing, if you've been fading, if you still watch the videos for just some analysis, let me know, man. If you've already commented on the video, I would just greatly appreciate a like. But I always like seeing your guys' feedback. If you're enjoying the videos, if you're liking the plays, if you've been enjoying tailing me, if you've been enjoying fading me, let me know, man. I like all the camaraderie down in the chat. Get active down there, man. It's completely free to just drop a comment. Let me know if you're tailing. Let me know if you're fading. If you're liking any plays. If there's a team that you really love today, hey, let me know. I'll check it out. But hey, let's have a day. I'll see you guys back here tomorrow. No more NFL, only NBA now. Hey, let's rock out for the rest of this NBA season. Let's keep on cashing and let's keep on rolling, man. February 10th, 2 best bets. Let's go 2-0. I'll see you guys back here tomorrow. Let's go.